to the vortex.
Hello and welcome to TimeRotorTalks, an all-new podcast series where we talk about all things Doctor Who. My name's Max and this is my friend Ben.
Hello.
And today we're going to be talking about Season 1, Episodes 7 and 8. So that's The Legend of Ruby Sunday and Empire of the Dead.
I'd say this is the most interesting one.
Yeah,
also,
I mean,
also the only two
that's kind of
parts,
something that we said at the start of every video. Ooh, this is an interesting
Yeah, but this is like the most debatable. This is like the most controversial episode. Like, what, two-parter, I guess. The only two-parter in the whole series, because it's too short. But
yeah, I'm kind of glad there's only one two-parter, because if there were two, then there'd only be like 6 stories. So
that is also, yeah, that's true, to be fair.
Right, so how does this episode start?
It just starts
starts with the TARDIS crashing into Unit HQ.
I mean, look, we've got to say that the visuals in every episode of the series are really, really good. So there's not much point of keeping on saying, oh, but it looks really good. Realistically, we're just talking about the actual plot and the episode as itself, really.
This is one of the scenes where you can really tell that the Disney budget has sort of made quite a big difference.
Yeah.
But there is a downside to this, because I do kind of miss just the TARDIS materialising. Like, we haven't seen a lot of that recently.
Yeah, it's true.
It usually just crashes in. There's no sort of... Well, there is materialisation, but there's just less of it.
Yeah.
And I just feel like I'm missing that a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe that's to do with Sutek, who knows?
Yeah, I wish they had a one-liner about that, because it just feels like it's just feels like we're missing something, and that's what we're missing.
But it is a good opening. I mean, I like that it just sort of throws us into the plot. So the Doctor greets everybody. We got a new character, Maurice Gibbons, who is played brilliantly by Lenny Rush.
Yeah, I just wish that they talked about what happened to Shirley, because the fact that she's going to come back next year it's a bit weird that she's kind of been replaced.
Yeah.
I know she wasn't able to do filming because of she was busy, but why don't they have a line where he's like, well, where's Shirley? Like, why is he not surprised to see someone new? That's what I don't really get. It just feels out.
Yeah.
It's a bit weird.
I think that season 1 as a whole is affected the most. It's the most series that is affected by actor availability and things like that, because Shooty Gap was obviously filming Sex Education. So they sort of... Apparently that's why there's so many Dr. Light episodes in this. And then I can't remember the actress's name, but the woman who plays Shirley wasn't available, so they just said, oh, let's get Lenny in. And admittedly, Lenny is pretty good.
Yeah, he is great.
But I've
got to say it though, talking about characters here, Rose was the most unnecessary character in this episode. I think she had 5 lines, and they were just like what Ryan had in Series 11, where he just says what everyone already knows. And it's just, I was like, what is Rose doing? Because I was like, oh, maybe she'll do something in the next part. No, she just gets incinerated instantly, and then does nothing. I think she has only 2 lines in that one as well. But I just think it's a real missed opportunity. She just did nothing, and I was like, but why didn't she have something to do? Like, and she's only
if you're gonna bring a character back, then
give him something.
Exactly. Like, the thing that I just think that she's just there. She just has nothing to do. I completely agree with you. I know she goes with Ruby to meet.
Oh no, it's so their friendship is so forced. I'm sorry, but
it's
so horrible watching it. It just feels so fake. Like, I don't know, it's just horrible. I don't get why would they suddenly be best friends? It's like, that's not how friendship works. Anyway, Russell loves a bit of character stuff, which he's usually
I do appreciate the fact that he's thought, oh well, the 60th specials have just happened, let's kind of have something that actually connects the two. But
I'd rather have had Donna.
He sort of
I'd rather have Donna. I think also with Harriet as well, having a new character, being like, her role is being like the harbinger, but I feel like that could have just been Lenny Rush. Like, he could have just been the Harbinger, so that's the reason for him being new. I just felt like there was a lot of new characters that we're now not going to, like, 2 new characters who we kind of grew to like, how we're not going to see next year.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the thought process behind casting Lenny Rush was simply the fact that they couldn't have Shirley in it.
Yeah.
But then they could have just merged together the Harriet and the and Lenny Rush's character, and that would have worked fine, as you said.
Yeah, and also I've got to say it, Kate was a bit boring in this episode. Like, if you look at her, like, her entrance in Death in Heaven from Series 8, she's got a lot of character and charisma. This episode she was pretty boring. Like, I just feel like she didn't do it. Even in 73 Yards, when she had 5 minutes of screen time, she felt really, really, like, powerful as a character. I just didn't really get...
Yeah.
I feel like Unit was just a bit boring in this episode. I don't know, they were just all sat around.
I think that I do like that Russell's brought Unit back and he's brought Kate back, because obviously she's a Moffat character. But I think... I don't like that that you can see the fact that she doesn't call herself Kate Stewart anymore. She's Kate Lethbridge Stewart, and that's obviously because the Doctor knew her father, Brigadier.
Yeah.
And I feel like every episode she's in, they have to reference the Brigadier, and I don't get me wrong.
Yeah, she's not really her own character.
References. Yeah, I love references to classic Who as much as the Next Man, but like, it just feels like
it does feel really weird.
She can't do stuff on her own, and she's just a reference for the sake of it.
Yeah, but moving.
And I really like Kate, but she just feels a bit wooden in this episode.
Yeah, she's been overused, I think. Not that sounds weird, but like, especially in the Flux as well. God, don't get me started on that. Why was she even in there? She was actually better in there, to be fair, than she was in this episode, but
I'm not sure if I agree with that. Well, she definitely wasn't needed in Flux.
No, she wasn't needed, but she had a lot of, like, charisma in Flux. But even though the Flux is terrible, in this episode she was just kind of, I don't know, she just felt like a normal person, and I think she's not meant to be represented like a normal person. She's kind of like a, higher authority. But yeah, moving away from character, I think if we go to, like, the general plot, it is actually pretty good. Like, this first part is really, really strong. Like, it's quite intriguing. I'm gonna say it though, the stuff with Ruby's, because this episode introduces, like, the Ruby's mother, like, teleporting past them on the VHS tape. Like, it's just stuff like that where it's like, oh, this person's clearly not going to be an ordinary human, right?
Yeah, I mean,
like, he's just clickbaiting us, and then he says, oh, she's, sometimes the most important people are just the most ordinary. But I'm like, yeah, but if we're led to believe that they aren't ordinary, then you're just cheating the viewer. And I didn't really like. And the pointing to the sign thing, I know that was kind of introduced in Space Babies in the flashback scene, but that is the most terrible piece of writing Doctor Who's ever done, other than the Absorbers.
Look, I do really, really, The Legend of Ruby Sunday on its own. Like, if we forget about Empire of Death just for a minute, I think that The Legend of Ruby Sunday is really, really solid. It
is really good, yeah. There are there's like a few minutes where I got a little bit bored just from there is a lot of talking, but it is like a build-up episode.
Yeah, you said the time window scene you got a bit bored in.
Yeah, there was just like a few minutes where I was like, okay, this is just like dragging. And then when you see like the big, I guess it was Sutek's like particles, whatever, that's when it got a bit more interesting, and I was like, okay, this is getting somewhere now, because it was all just like, oh, Ruby's mum, who is she, and then we just don't find out who she is, and I was a bit like, okay, it just felt a bit weird. Like, I just felt like the plot is a bit like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like it's tangled up in like a weird order, because there's like a lot of build up about Ruby's mum, and then there suddenly isn't anything about Ruby's mum, and then there is in the next episode. It's like it doesn't flow as well as I would have thought.
I mean, other people have said to me that they don't like. I've talked to people who don't like this episode, and they've said that it's because there's the mystery with Susan Triad, and there's the mystery.
I forgot about her.
Ruby's mum.
There's a lot in this episode.
And they just, there is, and I think that they kind of merged them into, like, they are two different mysteries, but they're kind of trying to solve them at the same time. And you could argue that that does kind of dilute the episode a little bit. I am fine with it. You know, I like my mysteries, and I think
I like
it's
I like
fine.
all the enigmas and stuff, and the ambiguity is really good. And also, who names their child after a signpost and points at it to name them? Why not leave a note with the child? It just makes no sense. I'm sorry, but I hate that part of this. I know that's
they could have just got rid could have just gotten rid of the whole pointing thing, and that problem wouldn't exist. But even so, I don't think it's like terrible though.
Yeah, no, but the whole
it's annoying.
Yeah, but
I think that the whole she's important because we make her important, and like the fact that she's an enigma in time because Ruby doesn't know who she is, and Ruby's like connected to everything. Like, I don't know why what Ruby thinks is so important. Like,
but
they could have explained that a little bit better.
Yeah, it's so underexplained, and then it like kind of like gets you to ask more questions than it answers in a way. And I know that's more to blame with the second part. Obviously, it's hard to only talk about the first part because they obviously are the same story, but the first part has less flaws for sure. It's quite intriguing. The final 5 minutes of the Legend of Ruby Sunday is incredible. That build-up reveal scene is like really, really, really good.
It is brilliant. Like when Harriet turns and then Mel's like, "Doctor, there's something wrong," and the doctor's just like completely confused, and then Harriet starts describing all the different gods. And then it is brilliant. Also, it's really brilliant.
I feel like the TARDIS being the villain was such a cool moment because you're like, oh man, we kind of forgot the TARDIS was there, and now it's going to be something really important and like evil. And it's like I love that stuff. I love that stuff. I feel like it kind of
the TARDIS hasn't been used to this capacity in Doctor Who since like series 6, and even that was only like one episode. And now it's like the entire arc, and I find that really, really interesting.
Yeah, that is really good.
A good thing to work on, good thing to play on, because it is, it's kind of the piece of the show that's always there. Why not do a series arc with it?
Yeah, I also think that the general plot of this episode is really good. But if we're gonna just forget about the next, the episode 8. Then it's a really good episode, but episode 8 kind of has to be good. Like, for this episode to be really, really good, episode 8 has to be good enough to answer the questions that are kind of brought up in this episode. And because for me, it's not as the best finale. This episode kind of then feels a little bit worse, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Because they are the same story. You can't completely ignore them. You can obviously try and
No, you can't. But I think that The Legend of Ruby Sunday, the structure of the episode is well done.
Yeah.
The
pacing is pretty good.
We've talked about the ending, which is obviously god tier, and the Sutek reveal.
But there is a lot wrong with it at the same time. But that's kind of at full of the finale, maybe, the final episode. So it's hard to...
if you think about it, the main things that we've complained about are to do with Empire of Death. What did we complain about? We complained about the TARDIS not materialising. They didn't explain that in Empire of Death. We talked about the pointing. That was badly explained in Empire of Death. Everything that we complain about in this episode is something to do with the actual final episode.
Other than the character stuff, and other than the bit in the time window where Ruby's mum is just teleporting past them. I don't think that actually got properly explained, other than it was a raw moment in time. It's you're just gonna give me that reason. I want more of a reason than that. It just genuinely made no sense. And also, when you actually think about it, so a 15-year-old, she was 15, right, or 16 or something. How old was the Ruby's mum? Quite young, right?
So, she was 16.
So she was a cloaked. She was wearing a cloak. Where she got that from, I don't know. She then pointed towards a sign, knowing no one is going to see her, to name her child, and then walks off. Why not write a note? Like, I just don't get it. There's no one can give me an answer for me to understand why that even happened. Like,
when you put it like that.
And again, it's just for Russell to be like, oh, mystery. She's pointing at the Doctor. Oh no, it was the sign. And it's like, yeah, but it makes no sense. So having the mystery just pisses off the viewer a bit, because it's like it's just there.
I do feel a bit used as an audience.
Yeah, I really don't like what Russell did in the finale. Anyway, I think we should probably move on to like Empire of Death in a minute, because otherwise we're going to overlap onto that one a bit too much.
Well, look, I think before we move on to anything, I do need to say that I've already said that most of the problems of this episode are something to do with the actual final episode, Empire of Death. But there are so many scenes in The Legend of Ruby Sunday that I do actually really enjoy.
There are a lot of good ones.
Like, as much as I said that Kate was a bit wooden in this episode, I do like the scenes between her and the Doctor when she's like, oh, you bring joy, and then the Doctor just lets one of her soldiers die, and she just gives him a look that's like, nothing she's ever done before. And that was brilliant. And the Doctor sort of, Ncuti's a more emotional version of the Doctor. I don't mind that. I mean, the crying gets a bit too much sometimes, but apart from that,
I just wish it wasn't in every episode. I just think it should have been in more than it was in the previous eras. But when it's in every episode, especially that it is in this episode, isn't it? At the end where he like punches the wall and breaks down, and Mel's like, get up. Mel's great in this episode as well.
Bonnie Langford's bloody brilliant in this episode. She is really, really good.
But I'm just like, but we've seen him break down so many times. It just feels like it's not as impactful. Like, I like him being more emotional, but you can't deny if you see something more, it's less impactful. That's just a fact. Like, so I found it a little bit annoying, because I was like, oh, he's sad again. Like, he's been distraught in every episode. Like, even in Space Babies, why was he crying in Space Baby? Like, I just feel like it's a bit over. But again, that's not this episode's fault.
It is overdone, but I think when it happens in this episode, when he punches the wall and he slumps down, I thought that was done pretty well.
Yeah, no, it was good. I just wish that we hadn't seen similar stuff as much. But again, that's not really this episode's fault. It's kind of the era. So. Yeah,
also the mystery with whether Susan Triad is Susan, the Doctor's granddaughter. I know you haven't seen Classic Who, so that sort of means a little bit more from my perspective. But I do like the fact that they touched on that, because Susan...
Yeah, it's a cool...
In the very first series of Doctor Who, she was the companion, and, the Doctor's granddaughter, she's obviously quite significant. And she doesn't really get brought up again. She gets brought up in, like...
The Devil's Cord as well, she had a little bit of explanation.
Yeah, I mean...
So that was a good little tease.
One of the sort of threads in this series is that the Doctor talks about, well, the threads in general is family and blood and things like that, and the fact that the Doctor's a lot more open about that is nice.
I like that. I like the theme of family in this series. That's quite good.
Also, the scene where the Doctor goes into the what's it called? The scene where he goes into the time window and he just laughs.
Yeah.
That's pure 15th Doctor love.
Yeah, that is good.
And I love that they did that.
Yeah. But yeah, I think we should probably try and put this in a tier list, I think, which is the hard part, to be fair. Having Rogue and Dot and Bubble on the same level does feel weird, but I don't know why. I don't know what I'd swap with it, but...
it's done now.
I feel like this episode isn't S tier, though.
Look,
there's just too many things.
Again,
we didn't have as many
things that we complained about.
Not all of them, though. Most of them. But
most of them, I think.
But they are a two-parter. Like, you can't just completely ignore it and be like, oh, but it's the next episode's fault. But it's like, it's this episode's fault for introducing something.
But we have ignored a lot of the good things about this episode.
Yeah, there are some really
we've touched on a few things, but we have basically just ranted for 20 minutes about the bad things.
But that's because the good things.
What's a generally good episode?
There's a lot of good things, so it's hard to pick out the bad things. So we're trying to do our best. I think we put this in either. I mean, it's got to be either A or S. Like, it's not going anywhere below that. But is it?
Yeah.
I think it is. I'd rather watch The Devil's Cord, but I think this episode might be maybe narratively slightly better in some sense.
What the good things about this episode are
The ending.
the ending
Build up, I guess, is decent.
The entire episode is build up. I mean, something that I said that they should have done is just have the first bit of Empire of Death replacing some of the build up in The Legend of Ruby Sunday, and then you've just got more time to show Sutek's destruction in the Empire of Death, which is kind of something that was lacking in that episode.
Oh yeah, we'll get onto that 100%. Yeah, I think where would you want to put it?
Floating. I mean,
I feel like we should probably put 2 in S, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of...
But also, I would
personally, I put it here, but from all the stuff that we've said that's bad about it, it is kind of a high...
I also would rather watch Boom, I think, than this episode. Actually, no, let's be fair, I'd probably rather watch 73 Yards, but I know we're trying to, like, balance both of our preferences. I think top of A is fair, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree.
It's weird, like, that's those 3 episodes in A. The majority of the fan base is top 3, but we've just put another one above it in S.
For the entire series, like, I did kind of think that this would go in S, but from all the stuff that we've said about
there is a lot
that's negative.
That's annoying about it. It's just a shame. But I mean, A is still good. Like, it's the second best of the series, because we know Empire of Death.
The thing is, it's not even bad stuff, it's just annoying stuff.
Yeah, and we have to pick it out because...
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, if we just talked about the good stuff, then it'd be a bit boring. So,
yeah. Yes.
I've got to say, though, the first 5 minutes of this episode is really, really good. I really like the first 5 minutes.
Yes, I like the way that they... I mean, it's kind of a shame that it kind of opens with everyone dying, I suppose. That would have been a decent cliffhanger, but then I'm happy with the cliffhanger.
I also, I did
really
think that when I was watching, I was like, oh, this could have been at the end of the last episode, but then that might have kind of like everyone dying, like Kate and stuff, might have not overshadowed, but kind of like slightly overshadowed the return of Sutek in some way. I kind of like the idea of Empire.
That's true.
That episode 7 leaves you with Sutek is back and that's it, and you're like, oh crap, what's he going to do now? And then obviously it starts with all the death. I think it's a decent sort of way of doing it, because after 5 minutes you get the memory TARDIS stuff, which is decent. Then you get the Doctor cry, like screaming out at Earth dying, which is again quite a good scene. And then it just goes really boring. I don't know why, but then you get I rewatched.
It doesn't go boring.
Well,
there's
a lot. Let's be honest. This episode has way
quiet.
After
it goes quiet.
After 5 minutes, this episode has no action until the end.
I think that after 5 minutes, everything goes quiet because Sutek has basically won. So you can't you can't have more action because there is nothing to have action with.
Something that we should have seen, which I think would have made the opening also even better, is seeing people like Mundy Flynn from Boom, or like the Beatles from episode 2, or Nanny from Space Babies dying from Sutek stuff, because obviously like it happens everywhere where the Doctor lands. Like,
that's
I feel
true.
like just seeing...
Yeah, we brought this up in the review of season 1 as a whole.
Yeah, just seeing
thought...
just seeing the people die who he like where he is at the moment, it just feels a little bit underwhelming, because Sutek even shows that little quick flashback, or like all the different Suteks across the planets, and I'm like, why is it not on Castarian 3, or why is it not in the 60s London? I'm just a bit confused, like why they didn't do that.
Well, we saw all the Susan Triads there, because all of the faces of her that we've seen throughout the series, now we know, oh dear,
everywhere he's been is going to get burnt.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of a more cognitive way of looking at it.
Yeah, I just wish we saw it, if you know what I mean. Like,
yeah, if you like your visual stuff, then you can argue that. But
we've got to talk about the woman with the spoon. It's an emotional scene, but the fact that it's then just not followed or following any action just feels a bit underwhelming, because there's just even more talking either side of it. Yeah,
it could have been a bit shorter, I think.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of waffle
I think
in
the
there.
main...
I don't know. I don't know why.
When I watched this the first time, I did think, okay, this is happening really, really quickly, and
yeah,
everything just sort of, because that scene is quite slow. Like it's fine slow, but if you want to do more other stuff, then this is the scene that you'd want to cut down. It's a shame because I don't like saying that, because realistically you just need longer episodes.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
you just need 50 to 55 minute episodes. And
I like the introduction. I like how it kind of shows how the dust of death goes backwards in time through families. That's kind of a cool thing. But again, that scene could have been 4 minutes. Like it was like 7 or 8. And I know 3 minutes doesn't sound like a lot, but when it comes to a 50-minute show, it is quite a lot. Like you can do a lot in 3 minutes. That could have been 3 minutes of action. For a Doctor episode, that's quite a lot. So
yeah,
and then you just get all of this like talking in the memory TARDIS, which is kind of intriguing. They mentioned 73 yards and stuff like that. Then you get like the Roger Ap William stuff. I like how they linked 73 yards in. I was getting hopeful that they might explain more about Ruby, and then they're like, oh no, we're just gonna pass over that.
At that point in the episode, I did think, oh shit, Ben's right. They're gonna explain.
Yeah, and then they just didn't, and it was so funny. Yeah, that was quite annoying. I was really hoping they'd do more there. Yeah, you get like the scene. I'm not gonna lie, when the Doctor like says, Mel, go wait outside. I don't know if you knew, but I kind of knew the Doctor knew. If you know what I mean, I was like, okay, the Doctor knows something's wrong, and it was just too off. I would have liked it to have been passed off as if the Doctor didn't know, and then it would have been, because I was like, because at the end when it's like a twist and it's like, oh, the Doctor knew about Mel. I was like, yeah, but I kind of already knew that.
There's always a twist at the end.
There is always a twist at the end.
There's always a twist. There's always a twist. There's always a twist at the end. There's always a twist. There's always a.
But I just kind of already knew that he knew, if you know what I mean. And I would have liked to have been surprised.
Nicer to see. Would have been nicer to see him actually like.
Yeah.
Not know, because then also, if the viewer doesn't know, then there's more of an enigma, isn't there? And Russell likes his enigma, so I don't know why I didn't do that.
Yeah, I mean, again, Murray Gold's music behind it all as well is really good. We didn't talk about that much, but his music is incredible. I also wish that we heard...
he's pretty good through the entire series.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, I would have liked a more haunting sort of soundtrack, especially in this episode, like we got in like Turn Left or The Stolen Earth or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's just how I like my Murray Gold music.
And I feel like we didn't hear the Doctor's theme or Ruby's theme enough. I know, obviously...
Yeah, we did.
I mean...
Okay, Ruby's theme, I'll grant you, but we did hear when the Doctor's taking Sutek for a walk.
No, yeah.
His theme is like blaring through the time vortex.
We heard the Doctor's theme probably in the church in Ruby Road once, right? I don't remember because the episode's quite bad. I know we heard it at the end of Space,
like 3 times.
Space Babies. Don't think we do in Devil's Cord. We do in Boom at the beginning, but that's
there's a bit in The Devil's Cord where you hear the start of it when they're running.
But my point,
there's like a variant of it.
But then we don't hear it in 73 Yards. We don't hear it in Totem Bubble. Well, we hear a variation, but that's like a emotional variation. Rogue, we don't hear it.
Yeah, but I can understand why we don't hear it in 73 Yards though.
No, obviously, yeah. I just wish that we, like how like, especially in like the Peter Capaldi era, I think it's done pretty well. His theme isn't overused like it is with the 11th Doctor, but it's used enough so that you can just recognise it instantly as soon as you hear it and be like, oh man, that's great. I just wish that we had it a bit more. Just because I love Murray Gold's music, that's all. I just wish we heard it more. Like, it's just...
I think that we're hearing it more than you think. I think that because we've only had 9 episodes of Shooty Gatwa's Doctor so far,
yeah, that's true.
There's not a lot to sort of go, oh, we hear it a lot in this episode, but we've already got all of the Peter Capaldi episodes. So
that is a good point. Yeah, but Ruby's theme is definitely not used enough. It's used in Church and Ruby Road, and then 73 Yards at the end, and obviously Devil's Cord, she plays it. But
yeah, it would have been nice to hear.
Did we even get it in this episode, considering it's about her? Like, I'm
pretty sure when her mum's revealed, we hear it, but like I might be completely wrong.
We hear some sort of emotional music anyway, but yeah,
But if I am wrong, then they should have put it in.
Yeah,
Because
it's just
why not?
his music is just really good. I think not having it more often is sad, but his music is great in this episode. But yeah, the episode's plot is just all over the place, isn't it? Really, it just feels like nothing happens. Also, a lot happens at the same time. Like it just doesn't feel.
I mean, Doctor Who does that a lot. I don't think that there's.
Yeah, but it is quite.
I don't think there's necessarily a problem with the plot. It's just the pacing's a bit.
Oh yeah, the
weird.
pacing is quite bad, to be fair.
It was better on rewatch. When I first watched it and the Doctor took Sutek for a walk in the time vortex, I did think, yeah, this is letting me down a little bit. Like, you know, I kind of wanted something a little bit more climactic. But then upon rewatch, when I sort of knew what I was in for a little bit more, it was actually fine.
Yeah, I was kind of the other way around. When I was watching it for the first time, I was like, okay, this isn't terrible, like it's not the best. But then when I rewatched it, I was like, yeah, this is actually like, why is there not a better solution? Like, I just wish we had more of, like, I hate when they introduce something that fixes the entire plot and, like, you know, essentially kills the villain in the same episode. It's like it's like they just introduce it because that's the only way they can get out of the hole they've dug. Jesus Christ. That scene where Ruby puts it on him, right? If you actually just watch it really slowly, she's really far away from him. She goes to throw it, and then it cuts to a shot where her hand's suddenly right underneath his neck, and I'm like, she cannot reach.
Oh, I saw that on Twitter. I thought that was a joke.
He would have bitten her hand off. Her hand's right next to his mouth. I don't know. That felt a bit weird. But yeah, I just looked. That fight with Sutek happens at 30 minutes. You've got another 25 minutes left at the end. It just feels like not a lot happens, but it's all quite a lot happens.
What would have maybe been?
It's just really bad pacing, I think.
Yeah, it's a shame because, you know, you just need a longer episode because I just felt that Sutek's defeat happens way too early. Maybe not way too easily. I mean, we've sort of talked about that a little bit, and you know,
I mean, look, it's not the best way to kill him, but it's not the worst way.
No,
but I also hate. I've got to say it just before you go on to like that. I hate how how everything is reversed when he kills him. That really pissed me off. I was like, oh my god, they're just going to undo everything. Imagine if Kate stayed dead or Ruby's mum stayed dead. That would have been so good. Then we could have had like an emotional ending. I just felt like it was so easy and so boring that they just were like, oh, everything's fine. Like, really?
Yeah.
Like,
Doctor Who's done that so much. And
but this was
was really
bad example of it, because it's like everything's died and now also Sutek scrapes the time vortex with his hand and he was fine, and then when he falls into it, he's dead. Why doesn't he just fall through the crack and go back into the world? It's just stuff like that. It just doesn't really make any sense.
Yeah, I don't know.
He was literally touching it and he was fine. So why?
Also, you can't just rip open the time vortex. Can we please have some Russell? Can we please have some consequence for that?
Yeah, he just rips the time vortex. Oh Jesus! Maybe there is consequences. I don't know.
Maybe. Who knows?
But
even so,
the pacing is terrible. This is the worst paced episode of the entire series.
I did like the ending though.
I mean, yeah, the ending is good. Like
admittedly,
the Ruby's mum is really good. Like that scene.
Yeah, I like something that I did want to talk about is the cafe scene when Ruby just goes in.
It was named after a road.
I was named after a road. No. When the Doctor's just watching outside, there are so many different layers to that scene.
Yeah.
There are so many. You can compare it to the Doctor wanting to meet Susan again. You can compare it to the mother the Doctor never had. Like, because obviously the Doctor's never met his actual parents.
It's a great theme of family, and it's really highlighted.
Because he got adopted by Tecteun. Yeah.
I can't believe that's actually canon, Jesus Christ.
It is canon, and it'll always be canon. But anyway, I just thought that was really well done. When the Doctor's watching outside, you're not quite sure what he's thinking, but you have
an idea.
You can, there are different ways to look at that scene, and I like I like when the show does that, because the Doctor's been through so much that there's not just one thing that you can have him relate to. And that's something that they have done well with Ncuti's Doctor, because he's so old now. He's experienced everything. And so, you know,
I mean, I think that
now he's open about it, and that's kind of the point of his Doctor.
I think Chris Chibnall will be very happy that this series is kind of quite a lot related to the Timeless Child arc, like a lot of family stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
big up Crisp Chibnall.
Crisp Chib, Chris and Chibs. But no, it is done well. If they just ignore the whole Timeless Child thing, I'd be a bit annoyed with that, because it was such a big thing. And
I really want,
I mean, some people just wanted them to ignore it, but I like that they've actually
I'm glad they didn't just ignore it. It would have just felt weird, because the whole series 12 thing is about the Timeless Child. If they just never speak about it again, they can just ignore it from now on, though. Don't ever go back to it, because now they've done a series about his family. You can just be like, we've done that now. I don't want it to be mentioned all the time.
No, not all the time, but I think that it's quite an important part of the Doctor's character, going forward.
I really want the Doctor to remember his past lives and then turn evil. Imagine that. Oh man, that could be great.
Well, let's write that episode.
Let's just write that.
Yeah. I might have announced it already when this episode releases, but me and Ben are writing our own Doctor Who series.
Yeah, for season 3 for Ncuti Gatwa's stuff.
Yeah, so we're doing our own depiction of Ncuti Gatwa's last series. Like, we've got our own companions, our own stories, things like that.
Returning villains.
If that video does well. Yeah, returning villains. We're bringing back the Vigil from the Rings of Akaten for some reason. I don't know why we're doing that, but we are.
Because they look good.
And the Weeping Angels, the Daleks, new villains. We've got the Xenod, we've got the Mortalis. Anyway, you'll see that when it comes out, but we're really looking forward to showing you guys what we've written for that.
Oh, you know what? This would slot nicely in C, wouldn't it? This would be
no.
Lovely. Yeah,
it's not.
Yes, I would rather
than Dot and Bubble.
No, I'd rather watch any of them of this episode other than Space Babies. C is asking for Empire of Death. Come on, it would be so perfect. We fill up every slot.
Look,
you'd rather watch Empire of Death than Dot and Bubble. Dot and Bubble has better stuff in there. I mean, admittedly, the plot is pretty hit and miss, but
the one thing we didn't talk about for Empire of Death is Ruby's exit, and I think that's done so bloody well.
It is.
Her entire character is based around the fact that she doesn't know who her mum is, and now she does, and the Doctor lets her go willingly, because he knows that she's got a life now and she needs to get on with it.
Yeah,
and she's got her own adventures waiting, and I really, really love that. I know she's coming back, but the way that they handle
it was a good exit.
It's like a first exit. Like, you know how
Martha
Amy and
as
Rory
well.
leave in the God Complex.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And Martha, and it's just a sort of nice little stop for Ruby's story. Nice little bookmark.
Yeah, but I
can't put it in C. I can't.
Oh come on! This episode is the explanation to the entire series arc is Russell going, well, I just clickbaited you into thinking she was important because I did some stuff that made her seem important, but she's actually ordinary. Like, why? Why is she not something more? Why did Sutek care so much? Because Ruby cared? But why is Ruby so important? She's just another companion.
Fine.
Oh come on! It would go so nicely there. I'm not saying it's not far off of Dot and Bubble, because Dot and Bubble has a lot of plot holes, but I think this is.
Okay.
I think
that's fair. That's fair enough. I get you.
You know what is funny? I think this is actually what the majority of like the fan base would do, except they'd put Devil's Cord like in B. Like, we've done everything in the order that most people would do it, but then one of them would move. Because I think everyone's least favourite one is Space Babies, and people's most favourite ones are Legend of Ruby Sunday, Boom, and 73 Yards. But we just appreciate the Devil's Cord because it's actually a really good episode.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the main people reason...
It does hurt to have Empire of Death there, though. It really does hurt. Like, personally, I would put it...
Well, we can move Dot and Bubble down.
Middle. No, I don't want to move Dot and Bubble down because it doesn't deserve...
No.
Okay, Empire of Death deserves to be in C more than Dot and Bubble. But I would go back and watch Empire of Death instead of Dot and Bubble. And Rogue, come to think of it. But then, that's just me.
That's true. No, I mean, I can see why I'd watch it over Dot and Bubble, but Rogue is definitely... I'd have way more fun watching Rogue than I would Empire of Death. Empire of Death is so boring for me. I know the ending is really good, like the Ruby stuff is great, but that first, that like middle 20 minutes is really... I'd honestly rather watch Space Babies, I think. I think I'd rather watch Space Babies.
No.
I don't even like Space Babies, but no,
You wouldn't go back and watch Space Babies over Empire of Death. That's just bullshit. You wouldn't do that.
No, maybe not.
Are we happy with that then?
I'm just thinking, like... See, lots of people wouldn't put this series that high up in terms of if they're going to do all of the series. Like, we didn't put it that high. But on average, this series is decent. Like...
No, it's a massive step up from the Chibnall stuff.
Oh, obviously, but my point is, like, if you're
up.
trying to compare this to the Capaldi era, each of his series have absolute stinkers. There's at least 2 terrible episodes in each of the series. 3, maybe. To be fair, there's probably 3.
I don't think I'd call anything terrible in this series.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. Like, I wouldn't put this series above the Peter Capaldi series. Well, I wouldn't put it above some of them. Whereas this series has actually got better episodes on average. Because, like, we've only got 1 in D. We then got 1 in C, which could be moved to B. And then, like, B is still pretty good. And A is really good. And then S is really, really good. So it's a weird... It's weird because it's like... I think it's because the main negatives of the series as a whole is the episodes are too short. Or the episode number is too short. The fact that there's only 8. Which then means the character development is... There isn't any. Like, I don't think there is any character development in the entire series other than Ruby finding her mum.
Yeah.
Like, she's the exact same person in Space Babies as she is now, except she's more brave, which is, like, generic, because obviously she is, and she's found her mum. Like...
Yeah, we said this before. The characters are well written, but they don't develop.
Yeah, and the
loads,
Doctor,
and that is a result.
The Doctor is the exact
reduced
same.
Episode count.
Yeah, the Doctor was like, you know, I talk about my family in a way I never did before you, but I was like, really? Like, have we actually seen that? I just don't feel like we've seen that. When is he talk? He talks about Susan a bit, but I'm like, it's not that much. You've just told your friends that you've got a granddaughter called Susan. Like,
yeah, but he's never done that before. Like, there are points. Like, I think Susan gets mentioned.
Yeah,
like,
that's true. To be fair,
2 more times after she leaves in Classic Who. I think she gets like mentioned once in Day of the Doctor.
I mean, there is a picture of her in the pilot on the 12th Doctor's table.
I love that scene. That's brilliant. That's pure Stephen Moffat.
That's why I love the pilot though, because it's just nostalgia. but yeah, I just think that the Doctor is also like still very similar at the beginning to the end. And I know it's only his first series, but you look at Peter Capaldi's
I think we'll
first
see
series
him develop a little bit more in season 2.
100%. But I just think like Peter Capaldi, the 12th Doctor, his arc is so good because it's like he really does change as a character, and I just hope Ncuti's Doctor has the same direction, because Jodie's Doctor had no development. Like, she's basically the exact same person.
I'm not sure I'd agree with that, but
how is she different in The Power of the Doctor? She just feels as awkward and like...
Well, she's always awkward. She just, after learning about the Gallifrey being destroyed and all the Time of Giles stuff, there's a lot of stuff in Revolution of the Daleks and the Halloween Apocalypse and like half of Flux actually, where she really doesn't... She's sort of lost her way a little bit, and she doesn't really know who she is anymore because she's not who she thought she was.
No, but that's just...
and things like that.
I've got to say it though, all of the scenes in the Flux where it's about that, where she literally just says, I don't know who I what is it like? I don't know who I am anymore. Like who I thought I was is different. She just says it. She doesn't. We don't get to see it. Anyway.
That's true.
We shouldn't. We'd be here all day if we were criticizing.
Yeah, we're going to be here all day if we. Start
we could
that.
do some episodes if people wanted to see where we have all of the episodes from each Doctor. So we have like all of the Christopher Eccleston episodes. We rank them in one episode, and then in the next episode we rank all of the David Tennant ones. That could be quite interesting. I think people might want to see that, so we could do that in the future.
Yeah. Well, if you guys want to see that kind of thing, then just leave a comment, because I think the upcoming stuff that we're doing is still dedicated to season 1. Like, we're gonna do a ranking of Shooty's costumes.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
And other stuff like that.
I know you've done a title sequence ranking video before, but we could always do another one of that or something like that.
Yeah, I'll give you some homework. Watch the classic Who titles.
I have seen them all before. I just don't know them off by heart as well as I would with the new ones. So
yeah. Well, should we leave it there?
Yeah,
then?
I think that's good.
Is?
I think most people would just move Devil's Cord to B, and then it'd be the exact same.
Yeah, that's true.
They'd literally just put it bottom of B, and then everyone would have that opinion.
Season 1 is very solid. It doesn't. I know we've just ranted like for every episode.
Solid,
about
but it
how
has got
bad
flaws.
It is.
Like I think
but it is really good.
The season arc has flaws, but the actual season is decent as episodes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because there's 2 episodes that are pretty stinky, and then there's 5, 6 that are pretty good.
But apart from that, I think that's good.
It's a good series, but just some flaws in there.
Yeah, same as every series really.
Other than 4.
Other than series 4
and 1.
Series 1 and series 5.
Well, series 5 does have flaws, but it's not as bad.
The Holy Trinity.
Also, I watched the series 5 trailer the other day, and it's so terrible.
Yeah, I've seen that.
The green screen is literally worse than what I could do. I don't understand what happened there. Like, it's 2010 BBC budget. It's so bad.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, look, that Doctor Who's gotten better since then in terms of trailers, hasn't it? Now we get Disney-fied trailers.
Give me the loving.
Anyway, right, that's our ranking of Doctor Who season 1 or series 14 or season 40 if you're picky. Join us in our other videos for how we would write Doctor Who, ranking the 15th Doctor's costumes, maybe a title sequence ranking, and just all other stuff Doctor Who we're going to be looking at in the future. So hope you guys are looking forward to that.
Yeah, thank you for watching. If you made it this far.
Yep. Well done if you made it this far. And I'll see you in the next video.
There's always a twist. There's always a twist.